The old mansion stood on a hill overlooking the town. A shadow hung over it, darker than the approaching storm clouds. Locals whispered tales of its past, each story more gruesome than the last. It was a place of tragedy, they said, where joy went to die. Built in the 1800s, the mansion had seen its fair share of misfortune. A fire had claimed the lives of its original owners. Years later, a family met a grisly end within its walls, the case remaining unsolved. Now the mansion stood empty, a testament to its sinister past. The wind howled through the broken windows, mimicking the cries of tormented souls. The air grew heavy with the weight of secrets, the silence broken only by the creaking of the aging structure. It was a place that sent shivers down your spine. A place where fear was not just a feeling but a presence. Daniel, a young journalist known for his daring investigations, was drawn to the mansion's mystery. He had a knack for uncovering the truth, no matter how deeply buried it may be. The mansion, with its chilling reputation, was a challenge he couldn't resist. Armed with his notepad, a flashlight, and a healthy dose of skepticism, Daniel decided to spend the night in the mansion. He wanted to experience its eerie atmosphere firsthand, to separate fact from fiction. Little did he know, he was about to step into a nightmare. The old iron gates creaked open as if warning him to turn back. Ignoring the shiver that ran down his spine, Daniel stepped onto the overgrown path. The closer he got, the heavier the atmosphere became, the air thick with anticipation and dread. He was walking into the lion's den, but the lion was not asleep. It was waiting. The mansion's interior was shrouded in darkness, the only light filtering in through the boarded-up windows. Dust lay thick on every surface, and the air was stale with the scent of decay. Daniel could feel his heart pounding in his chest as he took his first tentative steps inside. As darkness enveloped him, the silence was shattered by the sound of footsteps echoing from the floor above. They were heavy, deliberate steps, slow and menacing. His blood ran cold. He was not alone. He called out, his voice echoing eerily in the emptiness. Only silence answered him. Suddenly, a cold gust of wind slammed a door shut, the sound reverberating through the house like a scream. Fear gnawed at the edges of his courage, but his determination held firm. He had to find out what was going on. Hours crawled by, each one punctuated by strange and unsettling events. Whispers seemed to emanate from the walls, faint and indistinct, yet laced with an undercurrent of malice. Objects moved on their own, shifting positions when he wasn't looking. Daniel felt a presence in the house, watching him, toying with him. It was a chilling sensation, like being stalked by an invisible predator. The mansion was alive, he realized, but it wasn't the kind of life he wanted to encounter. The temperature plummeted as he ventured deeper into the mansion. His breath formed frosty clouds in the air, and he could feel the chill seeping into his bones. He was surrounded by an unnatural cold, the kind that emanated from something ancient and evil. The mansion was playing with him, testing him, and he was failing. Section 5. A glimmer in the darkness. Just when Daniel's resolve began to waver, he noticed something unusual. A faint light flickered beneath one of the doors at the end of a long, cobwebbed hallway. It was a warm, inviting light, a stark contrast to the oppressive darkness that surrounded him. Driven by curiosity and a flicker of hope, Daniel cautiously approached the door. The whispering grew louder as he neared, the voices filled with a mixture of anticipation and dread. They were trying to warn him, to turn him back, but he had come too far to stop now. He reached out a trembling hand and slowly pushed the door open. The light intensified, revealing a small, dusty room. It was surprisingly warm, a haven from the cold that permeated the rest of the mansion. In the center of the room sat a large, ornate chest, its surface covered in intricate carvings. Section 6. The secrets of the chest. Daniel's heart pounded in his chest as he approached the chest. It seemed to pulsate with an energy of its own, a beacon in the darkness. He ran his fingers over the cold, smooth surface, tracing the strange symbols etched into the wood. With bated breath, he lifted the heavy lid of the chest. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, lay a single object, a small, leather-bound journal. Its pages were yellowed with age, the ink faded but still legible. This, he knew, held the key to the mansion's secrets. He carefully lifted the journal from its resting place and began to read. The words were written in a spidery script, the handwriting hurried and frantic. It was a diary, a chronicle of the horrors that had unfolded within the mansion's walls. As he read, a sense of unease settled over him, a creeping terror that chilled him to the bone. Section 7. The Mansion Awakens. The diary belonged to the mansion's architect. He wrote of the mansion as if it were a living thing, a being of immense power and malevolence. He claimed to have imbued it with a dark energy, a force that fed on the suffering of others. The architect believed he could control this entity, but he was wrong. The mansion had a will of its own, and it craved more than just his offerings. It wanted to consume, to grow stronger, and it would stop at nothing to achieve its goals. As Daniel read, he felt a shift in the atmosphere. The air grew heavy, charged with a palpable sense of dread. The mansion was awakening, its power growing with each passing moment. It had sensed his presence, his knowledge, and it wouldn't let him leave with its secrets. Section 8. Trapped. Panic surged through Daniel as he realized the truth. He had walked into a trap, lured by his own curiosity. The mansion had allowed him to find the diary, to uncover its secrets, but it had no intention of letting him escape with that knowledge. He slammed the chest shut and spun around, his heart pounding in his chest. The room was no longer warm and inviting. The air had turned icy cold, and the flickering light had died, plunging him into darkness. He was trapped. He fumbled for his flashlight, his hands shaking. He had to get out to escape the mansion's clutches, but as he cast his beam around the room, his heart sank. The door was gone, replaced by a solid wall of stone. The mansion was closing in on him, its grip tightening. Section 9. A desperate escape. Desperation clawed at Daniel. He pounded on the walls, searching for a way out, an escape from the tightening grasp of the mansion. Each passing second brought him closer to the realization that he might not make it out alive. His frantic gaze fell upon the ornate chest. The carvings, once beautiful and intricate, now appeared sinister and menacing. They seemed to writhe and pulsate in the dim light of his flashlight, mocking his predicament. The mansion was toying with him, savoring his fear. Just when hope began to dwindle, he noticed a small, almost imperceptible seam running along one of the carvings. It was a long shot, but it was all he had left. With renewed determination, he wedged his fingers into the seam and pulled with all his might. The wood creaked and groaned, resisting his efforts. But he wouldn't give up. He couldn't. Section 10. The Unseen Terror. As Daniel's strength waned, the carving budged, revealing a small keyhole hidden beneath. Hope surged through him. He had found a way out. But as he reached into his pocket for his keys, a chilling realization washed over him. He had left them by the front door, a rookie mistake he wouldn't live to regret. The room seemed to contract around him, the air growing thick and suffocating. The temperature plummeted, and the unseen presence drew closer, its malice palpable. He was out of time. The diary's final words echoed in his mind. The mansion always gets what it wants. He had stumbled upon a horror he couldn't comprehend, a darkness that consumed everything in its path. And now he was going to become another victim, another tale to fuel the mansion's sinister legend. The unseen terror had him in its grasp, and there was nowhere left to run.